Everybody's been talking about Drake versus Kendrick, but today I want to talk about Drake versus the Super Bowl. So in the song First Person Shooter from 2023, Drake made some pretty big claims that he's as big as the Super Bowl.
Big as the what? Big as the Super Bowl.
I'm going to be comparing to Super Bowl 57, which was the most recent Super Bowl when Drake released his song. And I'm going to go through 4 metrics to determine whether Drake really is as big as the Super Bowl. First, size. Drake is not physically as big as the Super Bowl. Drake's about 6 feet tall. State Farm Stadium is more than 6 feet tall. Okay, that one was just a joke, but next one is for real. Name recognition. So it's hard to find global numbers here, but YouGov is a service that does surveys all around the US and gets some pretty good numbers on name recognition. So according to their studies, 88% of people in the US have heard of Drake. Honestly, that's pretty good. But the Super Bowl is admittedly massive, especially in the US, and 98% of people in the US have heard of the Super Bowl. So in the song, Drake seems to imply that he's as big as the Super Bowl, which in this metric clearly isn't the case. But on the same song, J. Cole says, "This shit damn near big as the Super Bowl," and 88%, 98%, that's damn near the Super Bowl, but still not as big as the Super Bowl. Next up, let's talk about ticket sales. So Wikipedia says that in 2023, the Super Bowl had 67,827 attendees. Now, I was looking at Drake's tours, and on his last tour, at first I thought he was really close. In one city, he sold 66,000 tickets to his show, which honestly, really close. But then I realized that was across multiple days and multiple shows. So I don't think we can count that. Looking at most of his tour dates, it seems like he's able to sell out venues really easily, but I wasn't able to find Drake doing any shows that had more than 67,000 people there. Admittedly though, I think this one's not a great metric. Drake hasn't done stadium shows from what I can tell. He's only done shows in arenas. And if he had done a show in a stadium in the right city, he probably could sell it out and get more tickets than the Super Bowl. That said, in my small amount of research, I wasn't able to find any situation where he sold more tickets to one of his shows than were sold to Super Bowl 57. So I think by this specific way of measuring ticket sales, Drake is probably not as big as the Super Bowl. But it's pretty close, and I totally might have missed a concert somewhere where he did sell this many tickets, so if I did, let me know in the comments. Anyway, here's the final metric, which I think is the most interesting and potentially the best looking for Drake of the ones we've looked at so far. Super Bowl viewers versus Drake listeners. So in 2023, the Super Bowl had 256 million viewers worldwide. That's an absolutely huge amount of people watching one thing. Now, since the Super Bowl is a one-day event, I'm gonna go with Drake's single-day streaming numbers. And since he makes the claim that he's as big as the Super Bowl on his album For All the Dogs, I'm gonna go with the first day of streams for that album. Before I started making this video, I thought these numbers would be easy to find. That's not the case. I really had to dig for a lot of this stuff, and I still had to do math to get a good estimate, so you're gonna come along with me for the ride here. So Drake got 514 million streams on his album in the first week in the US. I got these numbers from Billboard. The Billboard 200 is a US only chart, so it ignores streams from outside the US. But we have more info too. Spotify gives us really good numbers on how many streams Drake got on his album in the first week and the first day. So we also know that Drake got about 200 million streams in the US on Spotify only in the first week. So 200 million in the US on Spotify versus 514 million in the US across all platforms. That tells us that Spotify accounts for about 39% of the streams that Drake got in the US in the first week of For All the Dogs. Now we also know that globally, Drake got about 109 million streams on Spotify in the first day. If we assume, and this is a big assumption, that Spotify also accounts for 39% of streams worldwide, then 109 million streams globally on Spotify in the first day comes out to about 280 million streams globally across all platforms on the first day. 280 million streams is more than 256 million viewers. But lots of people gave Drake more than one stream on that first day. If we assume that on average, each listener only gave him 2 streams on the first day, which is probably kind of low because the album's a 23-song album and a lot of people would have listened to the whole thing, then he's already down to 140 million listeners on the first day, which is way less than 256 million viewers. But in case you're skeptical, we do have another metric here too. So at Drake's absolute peak on Spotify, he had 86.5 million monthly listeners. He's never had more than that. And even if only 39% of the people who listen to his music use Spotify, that's still only 222 million monthly listeners across all platforms, which is less than the daily view count of the Super Bowl. So I feel pretty confident saying that globally, Drake is not as big as the Super Bowl in that respect. But wait, I'm gonna be really generous to Drake here. Drake's a massive artist, and the Super Bowl is just so big in the US that it can make anything else look tiny in comparison. But what about in the UK? So in the UK, For All the Dogs got about 7 million Spotify streams the day it dropped. If we assume Spotify makes up 39% of streams in the UK as well, that comes out to about 18 million streams in the first day in the UK. Now for the Super Bowl, I had to do some weird math. The NFL only provided UK numbers for the Super Bowl in 2024, and I'm trying to get 2023 numbers. They said there was a total reach of 3.7 million viewers, averaging 1.2 million across the game, which was an 18% year-over-year increase from the last year. Now I looked at how they calculated that year-over-year increase for countries where they did say the number in 2023 and 2024, and it seems like the year-over-year increase is based on the average viewers, not the total viewers. Total viewers is what we're looking at here. So let's be generous to the 2023 Super Bowl in the UK and say that instead of an 18% increase, there was only a 10% increase year-over-year. That comes out to about 3.36 million total Super Bowl viewers in the UK in 2023. Now Drake had about 18 million streams first day. It's looking a lot closer now. If on average every listener gave 5 streams to the album, he'd still have 3.5 million listeners in the UK on the first day, which is more than the amount of Super Bowl viewers. So I'm not sure how reasonable 5 streams per listener or less is, but my intuition says that in general, most people don't go listen to the whole album. A lot of people will only stream a couple songs. So you take a lot of people who only stream 1 or 2 songs, a lot of people who stream the whole album, and then some people who maybe skip around. 5 streams per listener seems reasonable. Maybe I'm just making excuses for Drake because I really want it to be true that he's as big as the Super Bowl. But I feel like I can fairly confidently say that in the UK, Drake is as big as the Super Bowl. Maybe. I don't know. Thanks for watching.